make a choice. I was like, I love Jeff Garland, but I'm gonna just go with Brian Callen. Right, Brian Callen. So now we have a whole year. So I think we did like a 2-year run, and COVID hits, and he's on this popular podcast called Fighter and the Kids. Fighter and the Kids is a podcast where him and Brendan Schaub curate like their, just a silly whatever show, right? Brian Callen gets in a controversy where they're taking down all the people that was in that class, like Chris D'Elia, Brian Callen, that group, that
Me Too movement.
the Me Too movement, yes. So that 4-letter word was attached to Brian Callen, so he's canceling shows, and he can't be on the podcast. So Brendan Schaub saw we would do shows in COVID, and he saw how I was Brian Callen's homie, and he had Chappelle Lacey. So he was like, let's just bring both of these black guys on the show and just see like what can we do. And he brought me on the show on Fighter and the Kids. I kind of replaced my mentor, and it was going great. Us three, it was Fighter and the Kids with a Z. Things happened on that tour where I feel like, okay, Brendan Schaub is a UFC fighter, champion, right? He was a fighter, and he's trying to be doing stand-up. I'm a fighter, and I'm doing stand-up, right? So it's like when you have similar paths, and then you're the headliner, but your jokes don't match the guy that is above you, of course, jealousy comes. So it was kind of like a little friction here and there. So one day, he said, Malik, I need you to sign the NDA. I said, why? We've been working this whole time. He was like, bro, everybody signs the NDA who I work with. Theo Von, Brian Callen, everybody signs the NDA. I said, well, why? We've been working for 7 months. Why do I need to sign the NDA? He said, if you don't sign the NDA, you just can't come back. I said, okay, cool. Well, this time, it was that Friday show. He had Chappelle go to my house, look for me, because nobody heard from me. I was like, man, I'm not signing an NDA. And then I was like, to a point where I was like, bro, let me just call him. I was like, bro, I'm not signing an NDA. He was like, fucking why? All the shit I did for you? I was like, what did you do for me? I said, yo, you pay. Bro, I give you $3,000 a month. I said, yeah, but you say you give Brian Callen $15,000. I said, bro, I'm doing all the work. We're doing all the work. I was like, bro, that's like, I told him, I feel like I'm on a plantation. That's what I told him.
Damn.
Told him just like that. Told him just like that. All my discussions, all my beliefs, all my opinions are about the this time George Floyd movement. We can't talk about it because your audience is middle of America and you have 2 black guys, and we got to cancel that out. And his homie Chin, the advisor, the little Chin, whatever Chin, his guy, he was like, cancel that, cut that out, Chin. And I'm like, fuck, Chin and Cat. So they cut my episode out. He was like, people don't come to the podcast to listen for that. But you got 2 people on there that kind of like, that affects us. So you mean tell me I got to be on a podcast where I just got to sit there and play dumb, and I ain't feel like doing that shit. So he was like, all right, well, don't come back. I won't come back. I have my own podcast, Cutting Weight. So he took all my friends. They just stayed with Brendan Schaub. All the comedy shows I had around here, L.A., blackballed.
Damn, they blackballed you?
Every show I couldn't. He'd have Brendan Schaub and friends at the Hollywood Improv. I would go up at the Hollywood Improv. Next thing you know, I send my veils in, no, nothing. I'm like, damn, okay, well, cool. I used to go to the Laugh Factory. I used to go to the Ha Ha. The Ha Ha was the only club because he'd do Brendan Schaub and friends at the Ha Ha. And he was like, all right, I'm going to still book you. And then I had like my own headline date. My first headline date where I got with him in Austin, Texas. They canceled my show. I had the text, and my friend at the time, my co-host, Justin Elliott, he went with them, but he texted me. He was like, bro, you just did Bootleg Kev's podcast talking shit about him. Man, he said you don't cancel all the shows. You keep playing around. I was like, well, shit. Why? For what? Because I'm telling my truth? Man, do you know all my shows got canceled?
Wow.
So I was like, fuck, I got to do something. And during the pandemic and the COVID, I started being fans of these people who was doing skits. I was like, man, you know what? I act and I'm a comedian.
Being blackballed is a thing. I don't think people understand how serious this game gets. Like, to hear his story and who he was working with, Brendan Schaub, it kind of makes sense, right? and I don't know Brendan, never met him, but I've seen hella clips because he's hated online from every angle. Okay? Men hate that nigga. Women hate that. Like, they just do not like him. And he created this all himself. But to hear that he was willing to blackball somebody simply because they would not sign an NDA tells me a lot. And, of course, that person, which is Brendan, is affiliated with the other elites. And I don't put it past that whole crew. Like, here in Austin, there was a situation with Ty Rivera, and Ty was just voicing his opinion on certain comedians that are here. Periodically, they're back and forth between New York, but they're here. And interacting with these comics, I can see what Ty Rivera was saying. Not saying right or wrong. Not saying I'm picking a side. I'm just saying the fact of being vocal was helping to hinder said person's career because of the power, influence of the upper echelon comics within the city. It is serious, like, because these entities make money for the clubs, it ends up being beneficial for the clubs, and you, as an up-and-comer or a person that can sell some tickets, you're not bringing in the money that this machine is bringing in, so you are expendable. We can get any one of yous. There's a million yous. Like, I got into a situation where I was very vocal, and I had to slow down. I had to say, it wasn't even my own doing. And let's keep that 100. It was my fellow comedians that looked out for me that was like, yo, I'm not telling you what to do, but. And I appreciate those individuals because that made me look at it from a different view. I had to go on the outside and see it for what it was. And I moved my family halfway across the country to pursue a comedy career and to get blackballed in the city that I came. It's crazy. But I can see why Brendan Schaub is hated by so many. I get it. Especially when there's stories like this. And some of the stories, obviously, you can't hear because he makes people sign NDAs. You hear me? You're not being, I mean, you know what? You do what you do. But I'm just saying, it makes sense now. And it's wild that he was a part of, like, working with Brian Callen. You know his story. And that's even wilder. So what other things did he see? And that's probably why they asked him to sign the NDA. Do you see what I'm saying? Where am I getting at? Maybe all the things about Brendan and Callen are absolutely true. Maybe that's why life is kicking them in the ass right now. Hey, I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I am watching it unfold in real time. In real time. And I'm learning over time. Like, listen, if you want to go far, shut your mouth and do stand up. Study. Get better. You'll get opportunities. But if you're vocal like me, you're vocal like some others, you're not gonna, it's gonna be a slippery slope or an uphill battle. Either, both. A slippery slope on an uphill battle, my nigga. But I feel like my voice speaks volumes, right? And the subjects that I speak about are very important, especially in the comedy community. And I'm going to continue to do it. I don't think it's right for anyone to call a comedy club and get someone, kicked off a show. I was accused of doing that by a chunky, diabetic, wishbone legs, bow-legged child that Forrest Gump leg ass. Like, it was crazy. This person thought that I had enough power to contact a comedy club and say, don't book them, and they would listen. But hey, That's the story for another time. We got so much to talk about, man. But this was a subject that I had to come in and comment on. Y'all tell me what y'all think, because obviously things are not looking good for Brendan. He moved all the way out to Texas, and it's just not going well. Brian Callen too. And I don't know, maybe the chickens have come home to roost, as the old 1970s saying is, or is it probably older than that? But you reap what you sow. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. Write it down there below. I'll holler at y'all on the next one. Peace.
Until we meet again.